All right, then. Here we go, then, with this week's Talking Points. We will start with the simple question. In 2 minutes, Maddie Plale, first of all, is the whip going to dominate the agenda again?
I sincerely hope not. Look, there's the possibility we're still seeing jockeys adapting to the new rules. We'll talk about Ryan Manny, a case in a bit. We all know this isn't great timing. We've been talking about it for weeks. I hope not. I hope that, you know, we get good results and that people are focusing on the racing for the right reasons. But of course it's going to be difficult. You know, the stakes don't get higher than at the Cheltenham Festival. And, you know, if it comes to 1-2 extra hits, if you're in a driving finish to the line, it remains to be seen what sort of penalties are gonna come out. But I hope not, Nick. That's my line on it.
What's your hunch, Ella? Are we going to be a week of whip headlines, or are the jockeys going to keep it tight?
I couldn't agree with Maddie more. I really hope not. I do fear for these Irish jockeys coming over, and you know, they're not used to the rules, and they haven't yet experienced. Some of them haven't experienced coming over and having to deal with that. So I really hope not. I think it would be a real shame. You know, we need to focus on the stars of our sport. You know, the jockeys and the horses, and not so much about the whip. Yeah, it's a difficult one, but I hope not.
The timing of Cheltenham and Aintree means that you're going to have to get a very long ban, I think, to be in danger of missing anything at Aintree, because there's 4 weeks between the two. But if you ended up with a 10, 12, 14, that kind of thing, then it's starting to get pretty dicey, and that'll be playing on their minds. I feel, just looking at the way that the bans have come through, Maddie, that quite a lot of those smaller ones are possible. You know, the time to respond.
I was going to say, I don't necessarily think
things.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it's going to be a case of having lots of people go over by a lot, because jockeys have been counting their strikes for a while now. Obviously, we had the 7 limit, didn't we? But it's more that rules that we've had previously with regards to shoulder height, time to respond, have not, to an outsider, looked like they've been implemented as they are now. As
with evidence with the Brian Hughes case earlier in the week, where he got a 4-day ban for just 1 strike.
Yeah.
Ryan Manny was the first person to appeal the new rules. He failed in his appeal. What are the bones of this case? So basically, the outcome of this case is they're asking for more clarity, because Ryan was arguing that the stride in which he made his first strike counted as one of the 3 strikes he needed for it to be an adequate response time, basically. Right. Whereas the BHA say 3 strides after the strike. It's just a mess, isn't it, this? And I think we really do need clarity. Everything's now, you know, there's less discretion involved. It's more black and white. But we've got to, you know, we can't expect an immediate change from one set of rules to another. But again, that's going to be frying people listening to those 2 halves of that sentence. On one hand, we need clarity, and on the other hand, it's now black and white, there's no discretion. Yeah. The 2 things are supposed to go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly. It's just hard to know. I think with regards to the shoulder height, this is and other infringements, you know, to do with time to respond, it's just got to be about having that collaboration and that communication between all parties, so that jockeys are confident, they know how they can ride to maximise their ability without threatening that.
Ella, how are owners viewing this?
I think the tricky part is the fact that it takes days almost to find out if you've been disqualified or if you keep your place if you've overused the whip, and I think that's where, you know, it's tricky for owners. I think we just, you know, want the jockeys do such a great job, and you know, the owners should be on their great riding skill, and I think getting caught up in the issues of the whip is not doing racing any favours, and I think as owners we just, you know, hope that the jockeys can stick to the rules and we can enjoy the racing for what it is. I
wonder if Harry Cobden will get any days for his Imperial Cup ride. Some people were suggesting he was going over shoulder height there, so again, open to interpretation.
Yeah, I mean, you
won't find out a few days until after the race.
Yeah. Indeed not. Right, we need to know what the ground is going to be at Cheltenham. John Pullen, the clerk of the course, is on the line now. John, how's the situation this morning, Sunday morning, just after 10 o'clock?
Good morning, Nick. We've updated this morning. Old course is now soft, good to soft. The new course, good to soft and soft in places. We had a dry day through the day yesterday, and we just had 1.5 millimetres overnight. So that update just sort of shows that it did dry back a little bit yesterday. We'll be dry through the day today, temperatures around 10, 11 degrees. But then there is a band of rain moving in this evening. Could bring sort of 2 or 3 millimetres tonight and in the early hours. And then tomorrow's looking a blustery day, quite windy, and a few showers throughout the day, which could bring another sort of 3 to 5 mil as well.
If you are forecast, or if you get exactly what you are forecast at the moment, what will you be starting on? What will be the ground for the Supreme Novices Hurdle?
I think if we get the majority of that that's in the forecast, I think we'll be starting on soft ground.
Just pure soft through and through?
I think so, yes. You know, it did dry back a little bit yesterday, and with today it may dry back a little bit more, but it won't take much at the moment to to ease it again. So I think, you know, there's a good chance we'll be starting on soft ground on Tuesday. Deeper into the week, new course Thursday, Friday. What do you anticipate, again, if forecasts are correct? Yeah, so Tuesday itself, we might get a little bit of rain, sleet early on, but nothing too significant. A few sunny spells through the day. Steady. And we are looking at a frost potentially on Tuesday night into Wednesday. Wednesday itself, through most of the day, looks dry, but then there's another band of rain Wednesday evening into Thursday, and Thursday itself could be quite wet. So combination of Wednesday through the night and Thursday could see another 5 to 10 mil. So I think that would mean that we'd start on the new course potentially on soft as well on Thursday. Look at that. You're an absolute pro. John, thanks so much. Thanks, Nick. John Pullen, the clerk of the course at Cheltenham. Right, let's talk about accommodation at Cheltenham, because if you want it, you're probably not going to be able to get it unless you stay a fair way away. But they've abandoned these... basically cabin type, I don't know, containers that you were going to be able to stay in. Yeah, so they had 16, I think, just 16 bookings for, I think, I can't remember how much capacity is, but quite a lot. 300. Yeah, 300, so nothing really. I think if there is a place for this sort of accommodation, don't get me wrong, we know how the... Slightly kind of camping style? Yeah, well, you look at festivals and they have glamping and that sort of thing. I definitely think there is a place for it. But I think the issues for me with this were, one, the price. They were saying it was competitive with places in town. Well, there's kind of a difference between staying in a metal pod and in a nice cushy hotel where you don't have to share facilities as much with anyone. Dare I say, some of the hotels that are not that cushy were still charging 300-400 quid a night. Yeah, but I think there is a place for it, but ultimately... You know, it's a hard sell in many ways, and I think a lot of people have their set accommodation every year, don't they? This is what we're going to do. The main thing for me, I mean, I'd consider staying in one of these things if it wasn't perhaps quite as bleak looking, was that it was a minimum 5-night stay. I mean, well, you can't have everyone wanting to commit to that sort of stay all in one go. I think that's going to change for next year. But it's interesting what you were saying, and I don't know if you agree, Ella, that there is a place for more reasonable accommodation. So there is, although everybody took the mickey out of this, and it hasn't really flown, there's method behind the madness. There's a germ of a good idea here somewhere. Yeah, I think it's definitely a germ at the moment. it needs to flower. I think there is a place and time for it. I just think they should have maybe thought things through a little bit more in terms of what you get for your money. Racing 4 days at Cheltenham is really expensive for racegoers. With tickets and travel and then accommodation on top of that in a metal pot. It works out. You can go on holiday for that sort of money. So I think we might see it in the future, but not in how it is at the moment. All right, let's talk about just the extent of Willie Mullin's domination this week. Did I see that he might bring 90 horses? Was it that with the final tally? Or I'm not sure, but it certainly wouldn't surprise you, would it? I mean, we've been following this all the way through the season. You scroll down Odds Checker and see 12 of the favourites and so much depth to his string as well. If he has if Energumene doesn't fire, he's got Blue Lord, and he's probably got 2 or 3 dark horses will get confirmed in the Supreme, for instance, if Facile Vega doesn't fire. So,
Yeah, I think we were saying before, we think the Brits are going to have hopefully quite a good opening day, but it's whether we can keep that momentum up afterwards, because there's just extraordinary strength and depth.
You can't compete with the numbers. And Ella, in recent seasons, your family ownership has taken quite a few horses to Ireland. Have you found that has reaped the dividends that you were hoping for and expecting?
Yeah, I mean, we did have a few horses with Willie, and just for whatever reason just didn't work out. So it doesn't always guarantee success. But we have a good string of horses with Gordon now, and we've had some good success with him. And, you know, 2 of our top hopefuls are from Gordon's yard. And I think, yeah, it just, racing in Ireland is just so different, I think, to what we have here. And it's really part of, you know, the rural economy there is huge compared to what it is over here. And I think, it's, as you said earlier, it's part of their everyday life, and the stories of these horses, you know, carry them through. And I think, yeah, we've loved having horses in Ireland, and we've had some great success. But, you know, we do still, you know, have the majority of our string in England, because that's where we want to be racing and that's where we want to be winning. But, you know, you can't shy away from the fact that the best horses at the moment are in Ireland. So
you don't feel that it's part of like a mass migration? You're not going to, or not all the McNeil family horses aren't going to suddenly end up in Ireland?
I don't think so. Not for the moment anyway, as far as I'm aware. Yeah, we have some of our great friends as our trainers, and we want to support them. And, you know, if we have to have a few in Ireland, then we will. But, yeah, our roots are strongly in England.
Now, Cheltenham this year, Maddie, record prize money. You can't quibble with that. It is record prize money over 28 races, and it's solid, strong. But is it strong enough relative to what has become the importance of the meeting to the remainder of the season? If it is the be-all and end-all, and people are campaigning horses as such, is it enough that, say, some of the handicaps are 75 grand added, so your owner's prize money's a little over 30 grand?
Yeah, we were talking about this beforehand. We'll look at the Imperial Cup. That was a 100-gram race, the same amount as the County and the Coral, I believe. So I'd argue for the very top owners, you know, your likes of your Cheveley Parks, your Bective Studs, your Donnellys or whatever. The money is not, sorry, the money is not their number one priority. You know, anyone who can shell out 6 figures on a point-to-point at a sale, you know, the odds of them getting their money back, and it's about the Cheltenham experience. No one's going to Cheltenham next week going, oh yeah, can't wait to win 40, 50 grand of my prize money in one of these decent handicaps. They're going there because of the reputation of the meeting.
Does that then undermine the whole prize money argument then?
I think in a way it does at a certain level, and it depends who you are. I mean, I'm sure you're not in a position where you'd be saying, oh no, you know, it's not important to us, because of course it has to be when you're running a business.
Yeah, it's hugely important, and I think if we want to attract new people into this sport, you're going to have to put up better prize money. I mean, it's great that we've got record prize money at Cheltenham, but I don't think we can rest on those laurels that it's going to be, you know, it's fantastic, but I think there's still more work to be done. You know, some prize monies that you get in various races is abysmal. And I think if we want to attract, you know, more people into the sport, prize money is going to have to come into that conversation.
But would prize money, for example, and say better prize money per race in Ireland, would that be any kind of driving factor to why you'd have the odd horse trained there?
Not particularly, probably. Not for, as in like our operation at the moment. I mean, it helps, obviously, and if we can cover our training fees with the prize money, then that's what we aim to do. But I think it's more the lower end of the level that it's more important. Yeah. I mean, yeah. We want to win big prize money at the end of the day, but it's not the be-all and end-all for us at this stage.
I guess that's quite refreshing in a way, because it shows you that people are in the sport for the right reasons, and it's about passion. I mean, that's a very positive spin to put on it when, you know, British prize money can't compete worldwide, but at least it shows you how much heart is in the game.
And of course, prize money can only increase contingent on how much money is bet into the sport. What impact do you think the recent headlines over affordability checks are going to have on betting at Cheltenham this week, Maddie?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. I even said yesterday, I haven't bet as much as I usually do this season, but I will be at Cheltenham, and I wonder if the algorithms are going to suddenly be woken up and triggered by activity, and I think that's going to happen. We're going to see that happen across the country. People are suddenly going to be, they haven't had a bet since the Grand National last year, and they're going to have a log on and be told, no, thank you, you can't do that.
Surely, if the algorithms are as efficient as we all believe them to be,
are they that efficient?
Well, this is what I'm going to say. If people are not betting as much as they normally do, and suddenly they load a bunch of money into their account for the Cheltenham Festival and start punting like mad, every bookmaker in the land should be saying, yeah, we'll have more of you, thanks very much. These are just the kind of punters they want.
Exactly.
They'll be making a fortune out of them.
Exactly, and most casual punters are seasonal. Their deposits go up and down if there's a big festival, interest increases that way. But of course, the talking point here is that how much of the on-course book is going to benefit from that, and I think a big part of Cheltenham is, you can sit there and bet on your phone, but it's not the same as having a bet in the betting ring, with cash and getting your betting slip and enjoying that whole experience. But no, I think this is potentially going to be huge, and I'll be fascinated to see the levels of turnover afterwards, because we know the number, what is it, in the top 10 staked races of the year, a lot, even the Martin Pipe, the Fox Hunters races after the Gold Cup, they engage punters.
How much cash betting do you do on a racecourse?
Not much these days.
Are you going to do some this week?
Oh, I will. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you cash bet on a racecourse, Ella?
Occasionally, yeah. I think more at these big festivals than I would in the smaller meetings. But a good point is that, my dad's had his betting account taken away from him with one provider, and he now would have a bigger bet on a racecourse because he's not able to online. And I think that's actually not a bad thing, because it encourages people to go racing if to have a bet in the betting ring, which is a huge part of the experience of going racing. And I think on-course bookmakers are going to benefit from it.
And that's very interesting. And is betting a big part of his race-going experience? Or his ownership experience?
Not so much. It's the wanting to win. That's the main part, and the great time we have and the passion we have for the sport. But it's still important. And I think yesterday, for example, he had to have a bet on course because he couldn't online. And I think we do make it too easy to have a bet online. I think heads in your phone. I think it's great to get out on the race course, get in the betting ring. It's part of the whole experience. And it's a tricky one, but
we can't afford to be losing that percentage, though, can we? If that's happening to every other punter who suddenly decides, oh, it's Cheltenham, I'm going to have a bet in the Supreme, and then they get blocked straight away. The impact on the sport there would be catastrophic.
Of course, we're going to go back to the days of the late, much missed John McCruick shouting, "Come racing," at the camera every week. Right, those were this week's talking points. Much more to follow. When you rejoin us, we'll be spinning you through all the final decks for the big races on Tuesday.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.